They battled hard, man. You can't deny that. Team USA has just won World Junior Gold in 2024, and admittedly, if you had said before the tournament began, yeah, USA would win, a lot of people would have been like, okay, that's not surprising. I think most people could agree that the Americans came into this tournament with the strongest team, and it's kind of terrifying when you realize that most of them can actually return to the team again next year because they're young enough. Here's the tweet made by Scott Wheeler. Team USA can return 11 players in the Ottawa World Junior next year. Zeev Buium, Danny Nelson, Gabe Perreault, Drew Fortescue, Will Smith, Trey Augustine, Sam Hillebrandt, Oliver Moore, Ryan Leonard, and then the IR guys, Kerry Terrence and Aram Minitian. So this is a really strong team. And they had themselves revenge against the Swedes because with this same group of guys at the U18s a few years ago, he actually had the Swedes take home the gold. It was the same class of players. But this game, gold medal, World Juniors 2024, ends off with a score of 6-2. And on paper, you might say that 6-2 is a pretty lopsided battle. But if you had watched the game, if you had seen the intensity, you saw how USA got over to an early lead, only for the Swedes to tie it. Things were really close at the beginning of the game, until the Americans got a few goals that you could deem were a little bit lucky, a few plays where the puck just kind of found its way in. Isaac Howard scoring that second one where he passed it into the goal pretty much sealed the deal, in my opinion at least. The momentum changed so much from that point on in the game. But at the end of the second period, you did have two Swedish goals. The first one scored by Otto Stenberg to tie the game up at 1, and then the final goal scored by Sweden in the entire tournament was scored by none other than Jonathan Lekkerimaki with 5 seconds to go. This was a beautiful play, another one of these one-time bombs where Lekkerimaki unleashes it on goal, but alas, even being down 1, the Swedes could not capitalize as the third period saw Zeev Buium, Ryan Leonard, and Rutger McGroarty all score to seal the deal and give the Americans that 6-2 win. Honestly, Team USA, only up by 1 at the start of the third, really just took control and played nearly a perfect game to round things out. Sure, they didn't score on a 4-minute power play that they had, but they took advantage and they used that to their benefit. Now, I saw a lot of Swedes on the broadcast booing the refs, and social media was set ablaze. Oh, ref, you suck, ref, you suck. Hey, that's just what happens, man. You can't high-stick somebody and you can't make that guy bleed. Noah Uslan was the very unfortunate recipient of that type of event because he high-sticked Lane Hudson. Plain and simple. Hudson was bleeding after. So the right call was made. Unfortunate as it is, you don't want to see a 4-minute double minor given in the third period of a gold medal game, but that's just how it goes. You can't be doing that stuff. And USA walking away with the gold medal here definitely is a tribute to the tournament that they had, but for the Swedes, the hometown Swedish fans, y'all shouldn't be disappointed either, because this was a strong Swedish team. You could see the emotion on their faces. They were, like, really emotional, especially compared to what we're used to seeing out of Swedish hockey players. I mean, I guess you could say, oh, Elias Andersson a few years ago chucked his silver medal into the crowd, but it's just been years and years of not finishing the job for these Swedish hockey players. So you could definitely understand the frustration, even in the handshake line. Jonathan Lekkerimaki was kind of, I don't want to say getting into it, but he was having a heated conversation with Cutter Gauthier, and at the end of the game, with 30 seconds to go, everybody was throwing fists out there too. Johansson, Lane Hudson, everybody was chucking fists. It was insane. We don't normally see this level of emotion, especially from a team that's down 6-2 in a finals game. But either way, I feel like the best team won. I don't think that's up for debate. This was the strongest team on paper. They were the strongest team in practice, and look, man, they're on top of the world right now. Most of these guys can come back. So I feel like it's just a matter of time before USA Hockey really starts to take over the world at all of these tournaments, like the Olympics, like the World Cup of Hockey. With all the rhetoric saying that this team could rival that 2019 squad, which featured the likes of Hughes, Zegras, and Turcotte, Boldy, Cam York, Spencer Knight, yeah, I think I believe it now. Let's go over onto a few extra things before we end off this video, starting out with the tournament MVPs and all-star team. You have yourselves Jiri Kulich of the Buffalo Sabres, or Team Czechia, Jonathan Lekkerimaki of the Vancouver Canucks and Team Sweden, Cutter Gauthier of Team USA and the Philadelphia Flyers, Lane Hudson of Team USA and the Montreal Canadiens, Theo Lindstein of the Swedish team and the St. Louis Blues, and goaltender Hugo Havelid of Sweden. The MVP of the tournament is none other than Jonathan Lekkerimaki, and honestly, I can live with that. I mean, of course I can live with that. I'm a Canucks fan. But when you think about all the other guys that were putting numbers up on the board, that were scoring goals, Lekkerimaki ends the tournament off first in the entire thing in goals. He had 7 versus everybody else who had 6, 5, or whatever. So this was a player that just had pure dominance out there on the ice. He was tied with a whole bunch of guys for 4th in scoring in total points, and realistically, I mean, the way he's able to create offense, the way he's able to unleash those bombs on goal, there's a reason he was named the MVP, and if this goal-scoring capability translates to higher levels of play, then the Vancouver Canucks, they may just have themselves their Swedish version of Alexander Ovechkin. Not like, consistent 50-goal Rocket Richard winning type stuff, but an absolute bomb of a power play left side shooter. It's been ages since the Vancouver Canucks have had somebody who can score this consistently in this way. Even the Bessers and the Pedersens can't really do that. Meanwhile, you go over to the other players who were dubbed on the All-Star team. Jiri Kulich had a tournament for the ages. This guy was such a stud. Cutter Gauthier, just a force out there on the ice. Lane Hudson did his thing. Maybe didn't have the best production that you would have expected, especially considering his NCAA production, but still, Lane Hudson finished off this tournament as a point-per-game player, so I don't think that's really too disappointing. Other standouts to me, Trey Augustine, the Detroit Red Wings goaltender that suited up for Team USA, he was good. Ryan Leonard with the dagger of a goal to seal things up for Team USA in this game. Washington Capitals prospect, man, that guy is such a power forward in the purest sense of the word. Dangling by guys, forcing his way to the front of the goal, just unrelentingly making things happen. He was such an effective force out there on that shift. And for the rest of Team USA, I mean, all these other guys, the hardworking nature of Oliver Moore, the goal scoring of other guys like Jimmy Snuggerud, Gavin Brindley, Zeev Buium is a prospect that I think a lot of people should be keeping their eyes on for next year's NHL Draft. Such a talented roster here for Team USA, and they end up winning the gold because of it. Team Sweden, nothing to scoff at. These guys win silver. They deserved it. They were really good for most of this tournament up until that final game, but at the end of the day, the team that we all thought would win ended up winning. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this Team Sweden, Team USA game. I guess there will be a few other things, like if there's any follow-up to the conversation that Cutter Gauthier and Lekkerimaki had in the handshake line, or if there's any, I don't know, discipline handed out to guys who fought at the end of the game. We saw one of the Swedish players chuck his stick into the netting because they were disappointed that Team USA scored the empty net goal. There will be a lot of aftermath and conversations to be had about this entire showcase, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about what we had seen here tonight. Team Sweden versus Team USA. USA wins the gold and wins the World Juniors. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.